Speaking of All-Americans, how about Andy Thomas, Baylor catcher, most RBI in a season for the program since 2012. I mean, the accolades go on and on. Buster Posey, semifinalist, and now basically the green jacket guy on Up-Tempo. It's your third trip here, Andy. Like you at this point get some kind of award or something.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, as always. And I tell you what, Andy, I mean, a week for you where you get that All-American nod. You find out, hey, we've got you on that list. Was that expected for you, something that you were thinking about even coming into this week?
No, not really. It was a disappointing week for us not making the tournament, and just kind of had my head wrapped up in that. And then I get the notification that I'm an All-American. It was truly humbling. It's pretty awesome. Pretty nice list to be a part of.
Andy, coming into this season, and I know we talked to you before the season even started about goals that you had for yourself, personally, goals for the team. Was this something at the top of your list? Because obviously you've done so much as a college athlete. Did you have that All-American nod at where you wanted to be this season?
I mean, it's something that you think about, at the beginning of a year and think that would be really cool. You don't think too much about it during the year. If you get wrapped up in that, you'll lose focus on what's actually important. That's just one of those nice accolades that comes along with a good season. So yeah, it was always a dream of mine to be an All-American, but it never during the seasons or anything like that, I was thinking about it. It was just, hey, the numbers worked out and played well enough to earn the title.
I'm looking right now at guys like Davis Wenzel, who pulled it off. I mean, Shea Langoliers, Kyle Hill, even in recent memories, Cody Bradford being All-American guys. And then going back to Jason Jennings, who's probably the best Baylor baseball player of all time, and Josh Turley on that 2012 team. To be a part of that fraternity of guys, Baylor Bears, who are All-Americans, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, the recent guys you talked about with Cody, Shea, Davis, Kyle Hill, Troy Montemayor, those are guys that I played with, and a lot of those guys I came in with 5 years ago. So it's an honor. It's humbling. There's not any more I can use to describe it. I'm just extremely thrilled to be, have my name up at Baylor Ballpark forever. So pretty cool.
When you think about those guys that you talked about playing with each of them, Shea, Cody, Kyle, and Davis, how much did they pour into you? I mean, how much of this All-American honor is due to what they gave you?
Yeah, a lot. Everything, you learn when you come in, you learn something from everybody. And you take bits and pieces of leadership styles and hitting approaches and defensive abilities from Shea. And, me, Shea, and Davis are really, really good friends when we all were here. So it's really cool that I get to be honored and make that list with those guys. It's a pretty cool feeling.
Andy, looking at your numbers this past season and what you were able to do on the diamond, I mean, at a career 327, you go 337 batting average this last year, 11 home runs, 60 RBI, and then 51 games behind the dish. I mean, that just a complete year. If there's anything that was consistent for Baylor baseball, it was you behind the plate and you at the bat. What was your mindset going into this season? Like, what led to that kind of consistency?
That's a good question. I mean, the years and years of practice, the grinds in the fall, the 5 a.m. workouts, the catching defense that me, Shea, guys like Kyle Harper, we all went through, day in and day out, just knowing, hey, I got to be on the field. I got to do what's best for our team. There's so many different things that go into it. But I mean, there wasn't any way anybody was going to take me off the field this year. I'd have to literally be dead to get me off the field. So it was a fun year, and I'm glad that I got to be a part of every single game. That was pretty cool.
Andy, for you, we talked to a lot of college baseball players, former guys that talk about when they first get in a program, the culture shock, the speed of the collegiate game, because you're right there. You've been playing with those elite level guys. Once you step into a college program, you're out there with the older, 23, 24-year-olds on a baseball diamond. At what point for you in your Baylor career did it set in, okay, I'm a college baseball player, I'm good at what I do, and you knew, all right, this is starting to come easy to me and I'm going to be successful?
Realistically, probably not till my sophomore year. I mean, you go in as a freshman, you think, oh, I can play with these guys, but you don't have that swagger. You don't have that confidence until you've got games under your belt. And that's the only way you get it. You don't get it by just having the mentality. So I would say my sophomore year, I started at first base and started to get the ball rolling at first over there and played day in and day out and thought, oh, I can do this. I'm, leading the team in hits, leading the team in RBI or average and stuff. So it's like, oh, I can actually do this. But my freshman year, a moment that kind of turned for me was when I hit a home run at UTSA. We're on the road, and Coach Rod pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, do you want to bunt? Do you want to hit and run? Do you want to do something?" I go, "I'd like to hit." And sure enough, I hit a bomb, and it was one of those moments that you go, "Oh, wow, I can do this. I'm not the little freshman anymore. I'm a guy on the team just like these other dudes." So, but yeah, it's experience and just kind of having the right mindset.
Andy, on top of that, looking at what you're able to do, not just at the plate, but as a catcher, when you think about those guys that were throwing to you this year, especially that starting group with even down to Cam Cayley, but Tyler Thomas, Hayden Kettler, Blake Helton, what they put together, and then going through Luke Boyd and Jimmy Winston, I mean, that list of names, how much, really, what's your relationship with those guys, and how crucial are they to your success as a catcher?
Yeah. It's a relationship where both need to be good. I have to trust them. They have to trust me. We have to trust in Coach Strauss. We work in bullpens for years. I've caught Luke Boyd for 5 years in bullpens, in games, in simulated games, in inter squad. So that trust has been built for years. The younger guys, I think that they just have to trust in me a little bit more than I have to trust in them. But those older guys, I mean, the trust is mutual. I love those guys. I would do anything for each and every one of those older guys. And that relationship has been built over years and years. But the relationship as far as on the field, that's just complete trust between me and Luke, me and Jimmy, me and Tyler, me and Hayden, all the older guys. I can go on and on about each and every one of them. But I mean, the relationship is really strong, and it's not something that's been just hand over easily. That's been earned and built for years.
Well, Andy, for you, I do want to recap a bit on this season and what you and the team were able to put together, slated at 8 overall in the Big 12 coming into the year. Before I get to that, I mean, you talk about the list of catchers at Baylor, even in the last 5 years under Steve Rodriguez, that have been All-American caliber, big-time MLB draft guys. Who's next? Like, do you have one or two of these guys that are locked and loaded, ready to go that you've mentored?
It could be each and every one of them. It's one of those things where you work your butt off in the fall, you get into the spring, and you perform. And it could be any one of them that are here now. It could be any of the ones that are coming in. That's what's so nice about Coach Rod and how he recruits middle infielders and especially catchers is he recruits a bunch of them, and he recruits really good ones. And none of them are, in my opinion, none of us were extreme standouts in high school, or else we would have been picked up in the draft. But, you get in here, you work, and then you see the results in the spring. So it could be any of them. There's a list of them that are lined up. So we'll see.
Andy, looking at you guys this season going into the postseason, and again, we talked earlier in the year, I mean, starting 8th, projected in the conference. You go through the COVID issues. You got some injuries. I mean, you've lost the likes of Blake Helton and Hayden Kettler Blake Helton and Tyler Thomas for the Big 12 tournament. Down the stretch, Cardozo Kendo is out with injury. I mean, just the list goes on of guys that were nicked up or had to miss games in that last 10 with a crucial part of the season on the line. For you guys, how much of that skid there at the end was just the fact that this team was so far from full strength?
Pretty big portion of that. Yeah. I mean, we're not, there's no blame to pass here, but you have to go out and play the best is what you have. But we didn't have our starting 9. We didn't have our starting staff, whatever you want to call it. So we had to make do with what we had. Unfortunately, we made a few key errors there in that Oklahoma State series and in that Oklahoma series. We would have won one of those games, one more of those 6 games, and we would have been in the tournament. So, it's tough, but it is what it is, and it was a fun ride.
For you guys as a team, Andy, getting right down there to the nitty-gritty of the tournament selection show, and at that 65 spot, I know you're only a couple days removed from that, but what's going through your mind in that moment? And just as a team, how do you cope with that?
Say that one more time.
So in that, finding out you're at slot 65 out of that field of 64, in that moment, personally as a team, what's going through your mind? How do you cope with that?
Well, we saw North Carolina get in, and we saw Michigan get in, and we saw LSU get in, and Alabama get in. And as soon as we saw 2 to 3 of those teams, we were, you start to run the numbers and it's like, okay, Duke has to get in and Pitt's probably got to get in ahead of us. So you start running it and there's only 4 regionals left and 2 of them are Big 12. It's like, our chances are really minimizing here. But it was tough. It was really hard to be the 65th team. If they would have said we were the 71st team, it probably wouldn't have stung so bad. But to know that we were literally the next team in the bubble, and I think we had better resumes than 3 or 4 of those teams, it's really tough. It's really tough to see. But they don't have an easy job ahead. The committee never has an easy job. They're going to disappoint 4 or 5 teams, and 3 or 4 are going to feel like they got away with murder. So it's tough.
Well, I'll say it, and you don't have to say it for yourself. There are a couple teams that did get away with murder this season going into postseason play. Andy, for you, though, just the full scope of this year and where this team was supposed to be and what they fought through, do you still consider a lot of what your Baylor Bears put together this year to be a success?
Yeah, definitely. There were definitely success stories. But, just because the Big 12 ranked us at 8, we didn't think we were going to be 8. We thought we were 3 through 5, maybe even a little bit better than that. Just because we were so inexperienced is why we were getting, those low rankings. But, to not make a regional in this program and with what Coach Rod's done and what we've done in the past 4 or 5 years, it's a complete failure of a season. There are successes through it. Tyler pitched his butt off. A lot of young guys showed that they can really play. Nevin, Trey, Jared's an absolute stud. You got guys that just had great years and are going to build on that. But for the team in as a whole, it was a complete failure of a season. So disappointing, but there are bright things ahead for the future with a lot of these players.
Andy, what does the sting of not making the postseason, because you've been there before. I mean, you've had years where you're either on the bubble or you're out, or even your COVID year where it's taken away from you. How does that sting drive a team into the next season to just come back and do it? Do these guys have a chip on their shoulder moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I don't think these guys have seen, especially the freshmen and COVID freshmen from this year, they haven't seen a class leave. And that hurts more than you can imagine. When I was a freshman, seeing Matt Menard leave, seeing Aaron Dodson leave, seeing Nick Lewis, seeing a lot of those guys leave, that hurts. And you see the pain in their hearts. And that drives you to be, hey, we don't want to send these seniors off like that. And then my sophomore and junior year, watching Shea and Davis walk off the field for that final time when we were at UCLA, that hurts and that motivates tremendously. And so these freshmen and these COVID freshmen have never seen that. All they saw was COVID happen and everybody really come back. So you don't really see that pain that, that could be someone's last potential game until this year. And I think that that's going to have a huge impact for this team moving forward in a good way.
Well, Andy, for you, when you think about your Baylor career now on top at an All-American level, your name goes up at Baylor Ballpark, and you'll be able to bring your kids out there one day, and there the banner hangs that has you on it, the picture over the concourse. When you think about your time as a Bear, how do you sum it all up?
Oh, man, it was fantastic. I mean, I can't do this in a single sentence or even a paragraph. This is an essay worth of information, but I loved the people. I love the program. I love the game. I love the conference. I love Waco, the community, the fans are incredible. I love the school. I mean, all the athletic departments. I mean, every sport's good. That's really cool. And I don't think a whole ton of schools can say that. You can go watch literally any sport at any time and you're going to be in a ranked game somewhere. That's really cool. The competitiveness from our coaching staff, the friends that I've met, my fiance that I met, it's just complete. It was a complete journey for me.
Well, Andy, moving from Baylor now, obviously MLB draft on the cusp. For you, what does the next month or two look like in trying to get ready for the next level of baseball or life, whatever it may be? Yeah,
no, I'm getting ready for the draft. Starting to hit with wood, working out every day, make sure I keep my arm in shape. The adjustment from metal to wood's a little bit of a big adjustment, so gotta get prepared for that. And come middle of July, I'm ready to hopefully hear my name. So I'm gonna go play.
How much, Andy, of the next month do you know of, where you'll be able to get with scouts, see scouts, or really be just intra-working with these major league teams? Is there any opportunity for that, or just kind of take us through what this looks like from that perspective?
Yeah, 100%. You know, teams will call you and say, hey, you want to come to this workout? You want to do this? You want to do that? And for me, it's, yeah, I'd love to. No publicity is bad publicity. No opportunity to play in front of a scout is bad for me. But yeah, I was kind of written off the radar a little bit just because I had said that I was going to go to law school. So I got to get the name back out there a little bit more, kind of similar to my junior year. Law school would be a great option, but I don't think I'm done playing. I think I got more in the tank. So I'm going to go play while I can. Bring it on.
Andy, thanks for coming on today. As always, it was a pleasure to watch you play this past season throughout your Baylor career. And I know you'll take a lot of that with you. Bear Games question of the day, though. So I'm going to tailor mine a little bit different. We talked about earlier in the show, like family vacations, because everybody's got that one spot that they consistently win as a kid. Most of the time, it's the one spot that you would never go again because you went so many times. Do you have that like one family vacation spot that was just year in and year out, you always went?
Oh, man. Well, my family, we didn't travel a ton. We did like really big trips every 4 or 5 years. But I would say... when I was younger in my like 7 through 14 age, we had an RV. And you know, it was a total old school RV. It was we thought it was really cool at the time, but looking back, it was a piece of crap, but, it was so fun. I mean, I probably wouldn't want to hop in the RV right now. So I'll say that, but, we went camping a lot. We went tent camping a lot. But the one that I enjoyed is we always went to Hawaii. That was a big trip every year or every couple of years. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we had a camper for all of about 6 months, and the 3 kids, we got the best of the parents by the end of that. Just like, listen, Mom, Dad, we can't take it anymore. No more camper trips. We're out on that one. But hey, Andy, I want to thank you again for joining us today. Congratulations on an unbelievable career. But it's not over. I mean, obviously you got a lot of baseball ahead of you, and everybody here is rooting for you as you go into the MLB draft process.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was a pleasure coming on. You guys do a great job.
Sweet. Thanks again, Andy. Great having you.
All righty. Bye.
Again, Andy Thomas, Baylor baseball player, catcher, All-American, third-team All-American this past season with the likes of Davis Wenzel,